Hello everyone, and this is here. In this tutorial, will show and explain how to create this imagery from start to finish, and how to install the Stable Diffusion model, how to install a ControlNet. It is especially useful for people who are real beginners of this diffusion, and before you're ready to go into advanced mode. The first part of the tutorial is going to be in Blender 4.3, so the UI here will be slightly different from the earlier versions. Let's go create a plane, Shift A, and pick plane out of the mesh tab. We'll press G, move it down in the middle, press S to scale it, then Shift A as you create a sphere. The UV sphere will be our island, and I'm doing super basic shapes here, so it's as basic as it gets. Sink it down into the plane, so it's about our sphere. I do want to make it smooth shaded, like shade smooth, make it look nice and smooth. Then I want to create a few cubes, and the cube is going to be our lighthouse or any structure you want it to be. Duplicate Shift D, scale it, scale, and I want to have just a couple of buildings there, like a sporadic, not too much. Eight, and I'll shift to snap, use, and then this is our ocean, so I want to make it much bigger. Then I want to introduce the canyon, and I'll duplicate this guy, tilt it a little bit. We'll create a few of them, and this is where I need to create a camera and start to check my view. Let's drag down a new viewport, place it at the bottom, and let's go and say viewport camera, set active camera as our viewport. I will go to it. Yeah, I want to lock it to the view, so I'll say go camera to view. So now if I rotate it, we don't lose the camera. And I want to change the focal length. So I'll go with 33, a bit wider focal length, so we have more of a landscape view. Then just go and start placing these cliffs around islands. So I want this to be like an opening, guiding opening to a small island with a lighthouse or a castle or sci-fi tower. Who knows what idea will be there. So now this is a little time lapse of the process, because it's basically tweaking and moving rocks around, the big shapes of the image around. And this is what I like about this whole setup, this whole process, that we do have our final composition control. So it gives you a lot of artistic controls, gives you control to tell your own story with somewhat minimal effort. And I have a lot of ideas in my head, which as a professional artist, I never had time to really realize, and maybe I wouldn't ever have had any time to do that. So I'm quite happy that with this new technique, with this new approach, I can try a lot of my ideas and make them work. You can see here I'm scaling, changing shapes, trying to maximize, like big and small. I want to have a big contrast between the shapes. I want to make sure that your eye is drawn to a main subject. And this composition is very simple because we just place our main subject right in the middle. So keep tweaking. I can do it for quite a while. So this was pretty fast, but I can spend more time. I'm finished with the composition. I want to create the sky, so we'll pick the plane, duplicate it, and press R to rotate and Control to snap it. I just want to have a plane in the background. Not too far because it can skew the depth values. In the output settings, we do want to lower our resolution. I will drop it down to 50%, so it will be faster to run in Stable Diffusion. Now it is the time to create a depth path. The white pixels will show what's near to us, and the black ones will show what's further away. To do that, I'll go into the view layer and turn on the Z. Let's go from layout to compositing. Right now we can see nothing. I just need to click use nodes, and let's go render the image. Right now we will have a simple image with really simple light, which actually we don't really need any of those lights. Those lights do not affect the depth path. Let's close this image. Then spacebar, go look for the view nodes. Put it here, then plug in the image. And there you go. Now we have the image preview. If I go back to view layers, if I press Z, we can see that the depth path there is appearing there. So if I go, just plug it into the image, have zero preview. I just need to re-render this to reappear. Now we have our depth image. So now the image is overblown. I need to go to look for map range, plug it in, and play with the values here. The values that worked for me, and I just was really scrolling with these sliders left and right, doing it in a not really controllable way, but trying to find the look I wanted. So this is pretty good one. And then I want to also to invert colors because right now, well, the path will not work as it is. However, we can still improve this image. We can still improve the values here. If I go into the render settings, down to color management and view transform to raw. So it gives us a softer, more defined color range. Let's connect the invert color to the image. So when I go and render it, we will get our final depth path. Now we need to go and save it, save as. I want to save it as a PNG at the color depth of 16. It will give us a richer image, and compression down to 0, we don't need that. And I'll call it Lighthouse 01, save as. So here you go to GitHub, the link is in the description, and this one is the easiest to install automatic 1111. You just need to download the sd.webui.zip. Then we just go and unzip everything here. And then I want to click on run.bat. And then it will wait for a few seconds, so maybe a minute, and it will start to download all the extra packages that we need. Just give it a time. To install models, first of all, we need to find a folder where we are going to keep them. It will be Stable Diffusion. I already have a few, just downloaded them and copy-pasted them in this folder. I found my models on Kivitai. I will give you the link in the description. And the one I used a lot was called the Epic Photogasm. It's great for really realistic stuff. However, you can just search for other models and other styles and download them and put them in the folder. It will work really quickly, really easily. Once you open Stable Diffusion, just go to Extensions and click here, Install from URL. And copy paste this link from the GitHub. It will be in the description. Just then click to install, and it will take some time to install it. Then go to Install tab, check for updates, and then click on Apply and Restart UI. Then we need to download ControlNet extensions. They are available in the Hugging phase, and the link is in the description. I mostly just downloaded the depth extension. Then I just need to copy paste them into this folder. I also downloaded a Kenny, that's for the detection of lines, but we only will use the depth in this tutorial. Once it's all installed, you will see here our depth models and our ControlNet models, which we'll need to click to run models. I'm using Stable Diffusion Automatic 1111. In this particular case, I'm using Epic Photogasm model. The links will be in the description to the model and to the ControlNet and to the installation of all these features if you want to follow those tutorials and if you don't have it yet. Then I want to go and change the resolution to match my render. Then I want to go and change the resolution to match my current render. It's 960 to 540. Let's change seed to 10 because I don't want to have any variation. Then let's unscroll ControlNet. And I want to click on depth and click enable, first of all. Then I want to change the depth preprocessor to depth Zoe. It's much better than depth meters by default. And then I want to change the control weight of this guy to 7 to 0.7. The less the value, the more variation you will introduce to the system. So if you go 0.2, it will be very different from your actual image, and 1 will actually screw it up as well. So you want to have you want to be in a range of like 0.5 to 0.9. And let's just drag and drop the image. I've typed in my prompt, I click generate, and I got this image. Looks rather good. And for the prompt, I'm using just the stuff I see and think about it. It's really simple: canyon, lighthouse on an island, sea, sunny day, limestone. You can swap limestone to a country name like Ireland. Click generate, and you can see we're getting a completely different landscape. Also, there is some halo here. That stuff usually has to deal with the control network weight. I can change it and it can go away. I'll lower down to 0.6, and you can see that actually went away a little bit. There are some failures. In this case, because the control weight is at 0.6, it's not doing a great job. So I actually had to change it to 0.75 and regenerate the whole image, because if I put 0.8, it would create a beach in front, but at 75, it was just right. Let's go and try to upscale the image. I click here on the high res, and it will just do the double upscale. Depending on the VRAM, it can run or it can fail. So I hope it can run. Sometimes it fails on me. It usually takes much longer, a couple of minutes. And sometimes I just have to restart my computer, start really fresh, and then I will get an image rendered without any issues. There we go. After waiting for a few minutes, I got a much higher quality image. A quick comparison with previous render at 1K and new one at 2K. You can see the details are actually changing. I don't know yet how to keep it all consistent. Feel free to write in the comments if you know a good solution. If you go to your WebUI folder and then go into the outputs, you can actually check your images because it automatically saving it. You don't have to save it yourself. It will just create an endless gallery of your tries on your computer. This is a little gallery I want to show. Originally, when I was prompting, I did some gloomy lighting of a medieval castle because it doesn't have to be a lighthouse. It can be anything really. And you can see here, I also have canyons on the left and right, but the background is fully canyonized and big landscapes there. This is where I had to deal with the control net and also with the model of the depths of the control weights on the control net. In this case, the control weights is actually a full one, not like 0.6, which I usually put, but at one. And you can see it's really breaking the image. In this case, maybe 0.5, and it starts to blend in. And I have to keep changing the prompts to get a blank background. And I also had to change the image. I had to move the details around. I had to move the island. In this case, the depth setting is set to meters, not depth Zoe, which one I used. And depth meters is completely like doing something entirely different, not do with the island. So that was a big issue. Here you can see I'm back trying a medieval castle, just different control nets, different countries inputting like Jordan, Yemen. Also here I tried a futuristic castle, so that gave me, actually I really like this run, that gave me quite a modern type of a look. And you can see here, for example, these rocks in the foreground, they are my cubes. I did put the cubes there, and it really follows quite well with the ideas. So I just keep trying also different models. In different cases, looks very different, and I just enjoy look. If the depth map, for example, doesn't have enough change in those gradients, can create like a beach in front, or it can really blend your like mid-ground objects to the foreground. So you have to make sure that you set the color space to raw, that you set your map range to a good nice gradient. You can see here I had everything was kind of blending in, and then finally when I figured out a good control weights, set the depth network to Zoe, this is where I started to get good stuff. And then I tried different models, downloaded them. This is like a tuning style model. This is pretty interesting, kind of photoreal, but also a bit trippy. And here I'm upscaling this image from 1K to 2K. It also is changing a lot of detail. However, it improves the image a lot. So now I want to create a camera projection with the render from Stable Diffusion. For that, I will pick all the objects that we have, except for the camera. So select that, select the light, press Tab, press A to pick all the points that we see. Then I want to create UVs from the view. So I'll go project from view from the camera. Then I press Tab to exit, pick one of the cubes, and I want to assign a new material to it. I will assign, by default, it is principal BSDF. However, we want to switch it to background material because we don't have any reflections. It's just really a flat projection of the texture. So I'll go to shading, press spacebar, look for the image texture, and then open that render, and then connect it to our cube. So then I will go Shift, select everything that's visible, Control L to link the materials, and go back to the layout and switch here to our workbench. Right now you can see the stuff looks kind of there, but also kind of not. To fix these weird projections, what we need to do is we need to press Tab and start subdividing everything. I don't want to subdivide the sphere. The sphere is already quite good. So click Tab, Control select that sphere. But we do need the sky, we do need the water. Okay, go Tab again and start to subdivide. So look for subdivision, subdivide, press spacebar, click enter, subdivide, subdivide, subdivide. And then I have to go back to the project from the view, the UVs, and that will fix our look. So press tab. Now we can see it's looking just peachy at the bottom. Actually, this is not looking that great. So I just need to go and click on subdivide again and again, just to make sure it's right, and go project from view. There we go. Now everything is just great. If I move the camera now, have our kind of 3D scene happening. However, there are a few issues to fix. First of all, I can see, for example, the lighthouse doesn't have the top, right? So to fix that, we will do basically a manual top creation. I'll shift right click to create, to put the 3D cursor there, and I'll create a cylinder, and I'll make it a little bit smaller. And I will just, I'll make it big enough to fill in that space. Very approximate, and maybe I will go and taper this in. Then I will switch it to the switch materials to our background material, and I'll press Tab, press A to pick all the points, go project from view, and now we have our tower in place. So now if I start to move camera, it's kind of there. I can go and spend a bit more time moving it around. Let me hide this point that's there. So let me get a little bit confused. Rotate my screen. Okay. And I did exactly the same thing for the palm. So you can see now we have the palm present there. We just have a placeholder sphere. If I move my camera, we obviously can see that our rocks have the edges that start to show up if I move the view. So what I want to do, I want to clean my background. I will create a new image on Photoshop right now. So what I want to get is just this gradient. I'll do this selection, Control C, Control Shift V to paste in the same place. And if I go Control G, Shift drag out, there we go. I've got my background happening. I'm picking the background image, then I go into the material and I click here on number 17. It means there are 17 instances of this material in the scene. So I'll just click on that. It creates a new unique material. And in the shading window, I can just swap this to that background I've created in Photoshop. There we go. It's pasted there. And if we look at it and start to move, you can see the edges of the rocks slightly visible. On the right, I can see they start to pop a little bit. There was a little halo around the top element, so I decided to break it down into cylinders. Then I did the projection of the UVs again on all of those purchases. If I move camera, I can see issues on my right. I can see that my textures on the rocks are not perfect, and obviously they will not be because they're super basic cubes. So what I want to do to make this issue less glaring, I will just take these rocks and I'll just move them back a little bit. And then when I start to move the camera in, I don't really see that clipping as much for a small shot. I want to change the material on the plane. I'll pick it up, go just remove what we have right now and create a new principal BSDF. I'll put the roughness at 0, so it should be very rough. But right now it's just reflecting our HDRI image, which is not something what we want. I want to go into the rendering settings and go activate ray tracing. I'm a Blender 4.3, so this is a new thing. Works slightly different than in previous versions. And now you can see I turn it on and we got like a mirror reflection on our ocean. Let's pick this plane, go into the shading and type in noise. I want to get a noise texture, plug it in. Then I want to introduce a bump node where I will plug in the color into the height, and that will go, a normal will go into normal, and that will introduce a little bumpiness and noise. This is where I need to just start to play with the settings. You can copy my settings. Then I've created the texture coordinates and mapping, and here I can just go and the key position of my noise, so then I can animate it. So right click, insert keyframe. I'll go and drag it all the way to frame 250, go back to shading and move this that much and insert a keyframe. Now I need to test this animation, if it's too fast or not too fast. Looks a little bit too fast. Drop it all the way down to 0.1 meter, and that got us a pretty subtle animation. I can also go increase the samples here in the render settings to like 256 for the viewport preview. In compositing, I want to switch from view transform raw to standard. Then I want to go, we need to connect the image to the image output. And I want to bring back our resolution to 100% and then try to render. A couple of things I want to do. I want to sink in a few of the strokes down to ground a little bit. And I want to bring the water actually to the foreground, so we don't have that thing going much into the distance. Maybe we can end it here. Now, this big rock, I want to see, can I do something about that guy? And maybe I can just bring him to foreground. Let's go keyframe the camera on the first frame and just jump over to frame 150. Just kind of move it a little bit in and right click, insert keyframe there. And let's render out the whole sequence. We go click render animation. Just make sure you put it in correct output. Just find the folder. I will render it as a video sequence just to make it faster. After I try different props like Greenland and Thailand and replace the textures in the folder, so you can get this scene for free on my Gumroad, the link in the description. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.